privileges, security, and make sure whatever you do over there is saved. Like Simon told, if you run a EBS backed instance, it's going to be saved. If you run a S3 backed instance, you have to make sure that whatever you do is saved in another EBS volume or something, which can be reused. So if you could get over these initial hurdles, then you will be able to use cloud for mostly almost all kinds of solutions you want to use it for.
My name is Badri. I have a question which almost is running parallel to what I asked Simon. What questions do I ask? I'm not a techie, okay, to my development people as to whether my current application is cloud enabled. How do I know to what extent it is cloud enabled? And I don't know to whom to direct this question, so anyone can take it.
Okay. From a pure, design and development point of view, it really matters what kind of application that you are trying to develop, first of all. So if you're looking to, kind of develop a simple website, okay, and then host it and then try out whatever you're saying, so then you really need not think about cloud initially. But if you're looking at, developing a app, what probably this guy said, a complex app which has got app servers running. When I meant a simple app, what I meant is a PHP-based app. Okay, a simple PHP-based website which can be hosted anywhere, and it could be still, a wonderful app to use. It's a simple app. So something more, something on top of that, a complex app that you want to develop, which has got, different components in your entire design. So the main question is, for your technical team is, when you design your technology, are you designing as components or as services that can independently run and scale on its own? That would be the first question that would strike me, because let's take a sample of a typical web app. You've got a web layer, you've got a database layer, you've got something on an app layer, probably a search layer. So you got to really develop these pieces into individual components which can scale independently. So when I mean scale independently, let's say you've got a search component on your website. So you cannot have a workflow on your website which is synchronous, like I go and search, and then search results come out, and then I do something on, just next to it, and then go to the payment and checkout. All these are not synchronized into one flow. That's not going to scale when you put it to the cloud. So what you need to do is your search part. That is, it's a service that runs on its own, and it can scale. I add more infrastructure to the search subsystem, then it can scale on its own. So if you're thinking on that angle and design your application, so that's when you're really thinking about cloud, in terms of scaling, in terms of elasticity. So that's what I would start with, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, just add a few things on top of this. Like, okay, I mean, in the current scenario, like, are you trying to, develop some application which you want to provide it as a services to someone, or you want to become a user, or like you want to know, like, can I host my local application to the cloud?
No, we are developing an application. Okay. It's a software which would be used by many individual people. Mm-hmm. Okay, like an email. It's not an email. It's a health-related application.
Okay.
So which would be used by people like you and me.
Okay.
Okay. Now the question is that I have is, I don't know whether it's going to attract hundreds, thousands, or millions.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you use any specific technology? Is it .NET,
It's currently in PHP MySQL.
PHP and MySQL stack.
Yeah, that's the current environment.
Okay.
Okay. So one thing that I'm really concerned is, will it be the number of users at any point of time which will bring the site down, or will the performance be, will there be a degradation in performance when many people start accessing it? Okay. I want to know whether we are ready for a scaling up.
Okay. Do you have any administrator who takes care of your servers today, or?
No, it's the software is under development, and we're going to run it on an hosted space.
Okay.
So the developers are going to do the administration as well.
Okay. Okay. From what I understand from your standpoint, like, your application is using MySQL as a backend and PHP is your, front end, right? So today, I mean, I don't know whether it is session-based, session-oriented approach in terms of your design or a sessionless, stateless design. In general, people talk about stateless, stateful and all that. But I'll tell you my experience, the way that we have actually deployed a legacy application onto the cloud. A CRM which we use for our tech support for dummies, which is built about 6 years back, right? Which is an ASP code, ASP.NET 1.1 version of code, right? Which is completely session oriented, meaning I can't even take that and keep two different machines and deploy it. That's how it came into our lab, right? The CRM. So what we initially did is, basically looked at in the latest version of ASP, what kind of, session sharing. The state is what is really matters when you want to, move from your local to the cloud or a auto scaling environment, right? So the first thing we looked at it, we made sure that sessions can be shared across multiple machines, right? So now, whenever there is a hit that's going to get into my server, right? I can scale up. When I say scale up, I can launch one more instance and that will start, taking the load. So when the user goes to first machine, they come to the second machine, right? They don't feel the difference. They're already logged in, they'll be logging in. That's the first step that we did. And the second step towards the database. How can I, scale my database? We're talking about MySQL. I mean, if you're going by the RDS way, RDS is nothing but your MySQL server that's running in the backend. Amazon takes care of scaling up and all that, that's what they claim. Like, let's assume, you don't want to go by that way. How can I really scale my MySQL database, which can actually serve all these servers, right? Because, today I've made scalability at the application layer, now the database. So there are many, tools that are available to create a cluster for your MySQL, which are, made available. In fact, some of them are open source. And, you can use that, start scaling up. And there is a variety of pattern that they use, like read once, read many servers, write once, which means if your load of your application, okay, writing data, that is getting returned from the website to the database, right, it's going to be less. Only the reads are high. Then I do write once and, read from many places. Now I cannot do that because my writes are going to be as equal as my reads, right? Then you need to have a different paradigm to, choose which database to write. Especially you're talking about multi-tenancy as an individual users. Okay. I don't know the database design, like, you might have a single one schema approach or a multi-schema approach. So there could be, various, approaches that you would have followed. So in essence, what I'm trying to, drive here is there is no difference. If you really look at it, there's no difference in terms of the thought process from a developer standpoint. It's about how we are going to deploy it. The application which is developed 6 years back, we are able to deploy today on the cloud. Right? It's just the way, we just thought possibly, some of the layers that you need to, adjust or, tweak, it'll start working. Right? If you want to really migrate to an auto-scaling mechanism, right? Auto-scaling, people just say you can just auto-scale. Right? It's not that easy to, actually achieve. Auto-scaling, each and every layer, you need to really look at it. You might auto-scale one layer, the other layer will, actually, go for a toss. Right? So in that case, it is the inherent behavior of your infrastructure or the application. MySQL, if you take, MySQL cannot auto-scale by itself. That's the biggest problem. So it has to be, dealt at the root, not at the, developers level, meaning whoever uses of it, right? There needs to be a little bit of manual hand holding is required. Still you do auto scaling, it is required. Or you can use the cloud building blocks. When I say cloud building blocks, he talked about 7 or 8, EC2, SQS, SimpleDB, RDS and all that. If you use them, it is built. It is inherently built with a scalability in mind. So for an end consumer you're talking about, right, you might use a SimpleDB to store all the data, which you don't even need to worry about it. It scales by itself. Whenever you query, you get a response. You don't have to worry about your database, design, whether it's a single schema and all that. You just worry about the way you need to structure your data. But of course, you don't have the RDBMS capabilities, within SimpleDB. But SimpleDB solves, I would say, 40 to 50% of use cases that are live in the web scenario, right? So you can use those, building blocks and start doing it. For that, yes, your developer requests the knowledge of cloud. They should know what is SimpleDB. They should know what is SQS. They should know what is SNS. They should also know what is, RDS. So I think, that answers. Yeah, health. Yeah, you're right.
Actually, the question is related to health-related services offered by the company. If it is focusing on the US citizens, okay, need to go for the HIPAA compliance. So how the cloud is going to ensure the HIPAA compliance?
See, HIPAA, at this point, there are multiple things in HIPAA if you really take. There is a privacy-related issue. There is a security-related issue. There are many things, that addresses, right? Amazon has got, HIPAA compliance on the, some of the aspects from a HIPAA perspective. They are not completely, compliant, right? When I say completely compliant, from a security standpoint, yes, they are very strength. They have a good story around their infrastructure, right? But from a privacy, they don't really comment. So HIPAA, it is not completely, satisfied by Amazon infrastructure. So you might need to, look at that as well. No, you might, yeah.
HIPAA is also like, it is of various levels of privacy and security issues. So even though AWS is able to provide you the security and the privacy at the IaaS level, if you're writing a software and you're not encrypting the data, then you're opening it up. So you have to also be compliant. So you have to encrypt all the data which is coming in. You have to encrypt the data which is stored. You have to make it secure. You have to make it each and every data available, only able to be accessed to the end customer, not across customers. So a lot of things needs to be developed on the software level also. So HIPAA is not just could be provided by the AWS and you can claim HIPAA. You have to also be compliant on your level, and you have to be audited by the independent certification guys to actually provide you that HIPAA level of certification or whatever you have to provide to the customer to make sure that you are secure. Right?
Yeah. Hi, this is Karthik here. What's the advantages and the cost effectiveness of having a private cloud for bigger organizations compared to the Amazon, what they provide?
One thing, one of the main aspects of cloud is the multi-tenancy. You amortize the cost over the tenants. So you have the hypervisor in Amazon, which gives you the ability, the Amazon cloud gives you the ability to amortize when you are not using the instance, somebody else is using it, right? So the whole amortizing over multi-tenants, goes down when you have a private cloud. So that is one thing which you would miss if you go for a private cloud. Apart from that, I don't see any reason why would you go for a private cloud other than, that quoted items like security and regulations by law or something like that.
Okay, I have one more question also. So now testing services also is being moved to the cloud. Mm-hmm. So how, when you run a performance testing, how different is the result you do it on the cloud and do it on a regular infrastructure provided by the companies?
See, if we go to,
for example, load testing.
One thing which you need to obviously consider is the latency, because you're running it over a data center which is not present